Welcome back to Speak English Fluently. I'm Emma, and today we're exploring a method that sounds strange at first, but is actually one of the most powerful ways to improve your English: talking to yourself. Believe it or not, this technique has helped thousands of learners around the world build fluency faster than traditional study.
And I'm James. Yes, talking to yourself might sound a little unusual, but if you understand why it works, you realize it's almost like a secret shortcut. Many fluent speakers use this technique long before they ever talked to native speakers. It builds confidence, rhythm, automatic thinking, and speaking flow, all without fear or pressure.
The reason talking to yourself works is simple. Your brain learns language through use, not only through study. You can memorize vocabulary, learn grammar, and watch lessons, but until your mouth produces the language, your fluency doesn't really grow. Talking to yourself forces your brain to turn passive knowledge into active skill.
And here's another important point. When you talk to yourself, you remove the biggest barrier in speaking: fear. No judgment, no embarrassment, no pressure to be perfect. It becomes a safe environment to practice freely. And when your brain feels safe, learning becomes faster.
One of the biggest benefits of talking to yourself is developing automatic English thinking. When you talk to yourself in English, you stop translating and start forming thoughts directly in the language. The more you do it, the more natural English becomes inside your mind.
The benefit is building speaking reflexes. Speaking requires fast decision-making, choosing words, forming grammar, adjusting tone. When you talk to yourself regularly, your brain learns to make these decisions quickly, without hesitation.
Let's break down some simple ways to talk to yourself in English. The first method is daily narration. Describe what you're doing as you do it. I'm making tea. I'm cleaning my desk. I'm getting ready for work. This builds quick sentence formation.
Another method is future planning. Tell yourself what you will do next. I'm going to take a shower. I'll finish this task and then relax. Planning in English makes your mind more active.
You can also talk about your day. This morning was busy. I had a great lunch. I want to finish my goals today. This is simple but highly effective.
A fun method is mini conversations. You'll play both roles, like, should I take a break? Yes, maybe for 5 minutes. This builds natural flow and asks your brain to switch perspectives.
Another type of self-talk is emotional reflection. Express how you feel. I'm excited about this project. I feel a little tired today. I'm proud of my progress. It makes English personal, meaningful, and emotional.
Let's talk about how self-talk improves vocabulary. When you talk to yourself, you naturally reach for new words. You search for phrases you need, not random vocabulary lists. This creates real-world vocabulary memory because it's connected to your life.
Self-talk also helps with grammar. When you talk slowly and clearly to yourself, your brain builds internal grammar patterns. You start feeling what sounds right instead of thinking through rules.
Another big advantage is pronunciation. When you talk to yourself, you can focus on mouth movement, rhythm, and clear articulation without pressure. You can repeat sentences until they feel natural. 15.
Now let's talk about the psychology behind this technique. The brain has something called inner speech. It's the constant voice in your mind, the one you use to think, decide, plan, and imagine. When you switch your inner speech to English, fluency grows exponentially.
Inner speech is powerful because it never stops. If you direct that energy into English, you get hundreds of minutes of free practice every day. No teacher needed, no schedule, no pressure.
One great way to practice inner speech is to text in your mind. Create imaginary messages or replies in English. Pretend you're talking to a friend, planning a message, or expressing an idea privately.
Another way is internal commentary. For example, when you see something interesting, comment on it in English inside your head. That's a beautiful view. This weather feels perfect. That person looks busy. These micro thoughts transform how your brain processes English.
Now let's talk about the difference between thinking and speaking. Thinking is silent. Speaking is physical. When you talk to yourself out loud, you train your mouth, tongue, breath, and muscles to produce English sounds accurately.
And when you speak out loud regularly, your speaking speed increases naturally. You learn to switch between ideas quickly and speak more smoothly without stopping to think.
Self-talk is also amazing for shy learners. If speaking with others feels scary, talking to yourself is a perfect bridge. It builds confidence so that when you finally speak to someone, your brain is ready.
Let's go deeper into how talking to yourself improves listening. When you speak in English regularly, you become familiar with English rhythm. This makes it easier to understand others because your ear is already tuned to the sound patterns you produce.
Another benefit is accent exposure. When you imitate native speakers during self-talk, you internalize natural pronunciation. You don't need to copy perfectly. Just mimic the tone, rise, fall, and style.
Now let's discuss practical techniques. First, mirror speaking. Stand in front of a mirror and talk about anything for 2 minutes. Watch your mouth. Notice your expression. This builds confidence and natural fluency.
Second, object description. Pick any object near you and describe it. This mug is blue. It feels warm. I bought it last year. This technique improves vocabulary related to daily life.
Third, situation simulation. Pretend you're ordering food, asking directions, or booking a ticket. Speak as if you're in the situation. This prepares you for real conversations.
Fourth, emotion training. Say sentences with different emotions: happy, excited, worried, angry. This builds expressive confidence, something many learners struggle with.
Decision talk. When you're choosing something, clothes, food, plans, decide in English. Should I pick this? I think this is better. I'll go with this option. This builds active thinking.
Problem-solving talk. If something goes wrong, talk through it in English. I need to figure this out. What's the best solution? I should try another way. This develops logical flow in English.
Seventh, storytelling. Tell yourself a short story from your day, even something small. This morning, I woke up late. Then I rushed to get ready. This improves sequence and structure.
Let's talk about self-talk speed. You don't need to talk fast. Slow is better. Speak clearly and let sentences form naturally. As you practice, speed increases on its own.
Another tip, Don't worry about mistakes during self-talk. Mistakes are harmless. In fact, they help your brain learn. Self-talk gives you private space to experiment freely.
Let's explain how self-talk helps eliminate translation. Every time you speak English directly, you strengthen the pathway between thought and language. Translation becomes slower and less necessary.
Eventually, you start forming thoughts directly in English. This is the beginning of true fluency, when your mind produces English naturally.
Another benefit, self-talk creates mental English zones throughout your day. When your phone chimes, think in English. When you open the fridge, think in English. When you walk outside, think in English. These micro moments add up fast.
Now let's talk about confidence building. When you talk to yourself regularly, you hear your own English. You get used to your voice. The fear disappears. You start accepting mistakes as normal.
And as confidence grows, speaking with others becomes easier. You no longer panic because you've already practiced the flow dozens of times alone.
Another surprising benefit is improved grammar intuition. When you speak frequently, grammar rules turn into habits. You start saying things correctly without thinking.
Self-talk also helps you capture new vocabulary. When you learn a new word, use it immediately in self-talk. Oh, that was unexpected. This is refreshing. Using the word in your own sentence makes it stick.
And repetition is powerful. If you use a new word 5 or 6 times in a day, you'll remember it naturally without flashcards.
Let's talk about pronunciation improvement. When you speak privately, you can exaggerate sounds, slow them down, and correct yourself. This trains your mouth to produce English naturally.
You can also record yourself. A 20-second voice note is enough. Listen back and identify one thing to improve: tone, clarity, or confidence. Small improvement daily equals big progress later.
Now let's discuss the self-Q&A method. Ask yourself questions and answer them out loud. How was my day? It was productive. I finished my tasks. This builds spontaneous speaking ability.
Another method is the 3 things exercise. Every morning, say 3 things out loud. 1. What you're grateful for. 2. What you plan to do. 3. How you feel. This sets a positive tone and gives practice. The last day. Full. When big dogs bark. Agree to sit or overlook them. Then each particle will be precious. This sets a positive tone and gives practice. It's a job well done, and a particle will be practice. Avoiding one thing at a time. This sets a positive tone and gives practice. Creating a job well done and a particle will be practice. This sets a positive tone and gives practice.
Let's talk about transition talk. Every time you change activity, speak a sentence. I'm going to relax now. I'm starting my work. This creates English anchors in your day.
And here's something powerful. Your brain loves consistency. Even 3 minutes of self-talk daily builds fluency over time. Small inputs repeated consistently are more effective than long sessions once a week.
Self-talk also helps you overcome perfectionism. When you practice privately, you stop worrying about perfect English. You focus on communication instead of perfection.
And communication is the real goal. Fluency is not perfect grammar. It's comfortable expression. Self-talk builds that comfort.
Let's talk about how self-talk improves listening. When you speak regularly, you become familiar with the patterns of English. You understand others faster because you already use similar patterns.
That's why many learners suddenly notice, my listening improved even though I didn't study listening. Speaking improves listening, and talking to yourself strengthens both.
Another technique: describe your environment. The room is bright. It's quiet outside. There are people walking past. This builds observation vocabulary.
You can also practice prediction. If I do this, what will happen? I think it will rain later. Prediction builds natural thinking flow.
Self-talk works beautifully with physical actions. When you do something, say it. I'm opening the window. I'm turning on the light. Actions plus speech build strong memory.
Another trick: talk to your reflection in the mirror as if you're speaking to someone else. This builds confidence and natural eye contact, even if it's just with yourself.
And don't forget imagination. You can have imaginary conversations, ordering food, answering interview questions, greeting someone new. This prepares you for real-life situations.
The truth is, your brain doesn't know the difference between imaginary speaking and real speaking. Both build fluency.
Now let's talk about real-life results. Learners who practice self-talk daily speak faster, make fewer pauses, and think in English much more naturally.
And they become confident. When you hear yourself speaking English regularly, you stop doubting your ability.
Another benefit is reduced anxiety. When you talk to yourself, you practice without judgment. You learn to stay calm while speaking.
And calm speaking is effective speaking. Nervous speech becomes chaotic. Calm speech becomes clear. Self-talk teaches calmness.
Let's talk about how long you should practice self-talk. You don't need 20 minutes. Even 5 minutes spread across the day works. Micro-practice builds fluency.
For example, 1 minute in the morning, 2 while walking, 1 while cooking, 1 at night. That's enough.
Self-talk is also flexible. It doesn't require books, apps, or partners. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
Let's talk about language intuition. When you talk often, your brain begins to predict sentence structures automatically. You start saying things like a native without thinking.
This is called procedural memory. It's the same type of memory you use to ride a bike or drive a car. Self-talk builds English procedural memory. And expressive English is real English. It makes your communication alive and confident.
Another technique is emotion switch self-talk. Say a sentence with different emotions. I can't believe it. Try angry, excited, surprised, confused. This builds expressive English. Another exercise is describe a memory. Talk about something that...
And storytelling is essential for conversations. People love stories. Self-talk helps you organize your thoughts.
Now let's talk about vocabulary reinforcement. When you learn a new word, use it in 3 self-talk sentences immediately. This moves the word from passive memory to active memory.
And active vocabulary is what makes you sound fluent. You can know 1,000 words passively, but if you can't use them, they don't help you. Self-talk converts vocabulary into speaking ability.
Another trick. Talk in the present continuous. I'm walking. I'm thinking. This keeps your mind active and builds grammar naturally.
You can also practice conditional sentences. If I finish early, I'll relax. If I had more time, I'd practice more. This builds advanced structure.
And here's something very helpful. Self-talk strengthens your accent clarity. When you hear your voice often, you naturally adjust your pronunciation.
Let's talk about goal-based self-talk. Every morning, set one English goal and say it. Today, I want to practice speaking. This gives your brain direction.
Another idea is dream self-talk. Before sleeping, tell yourself about your dreams or goals. One day I want to travel too. This builds long-form fluency.
Self-talk also helps with grammar confidence. When you repeat correct patterns often, your brain remembers them automatically.
And automatic grammar is the real target, not memorizing rules.
Let's talk about self-talk in public. You can whisper quietly while walking or moving your lips silently. No one will notice. It's free practice.
And if you can't talk out loud, talk in your head. Inner speech still builds fluency.
Now let's build a daily routine. Morning, 2 minutes narrating actions. Afternoon, 2 minutes describing something around you. Evening, 2 minutes storytelling. Night, 2 minutes inner reflection. That's an 8-minute fluency builder.
Consistency is more important than time. Even small sessions grow your fluency over weeks and months.
Remember, fluency grows from frequent use, not perfect knowledge. Use English as often as possible.
Talking to yourself gives you the freedom to practice without rules or fear.
And freedom builds confidence, which builds fluency.
So if you feel nervous, shy, or stuck, start talking to yourself today.
Your English will grow faster than you expect.
Thank you for joining us on Speak English Fluently.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Keep speaking.
Keep speaking.
And keep speaking English fluently.